the John Wayne Gacy tapes. This is a confession with a killer. I did that backwards. I hope you enjoyed it. Bloop. So this is going to be a full reaction from my second, third tier here on the YouTube platform, as well as my other platform, Patreon. So guys, please sign up to one of those platforms and help support the channel today. I'm ready to jump into this. As you guys know, I've been going back and forth between the other show, which was, I forgot the title of that show, but it's on Peacock, and then going on to this show, which aired on Netflix. So I'm just trying to get the gist of this person in the entirety. Also, there has been some descriptions, is that the word? Let me change that word and give another word. There has been some changes to the story, discrepancies. I knew I was gonna get it. Between the story in this one and the Peacock one, which is actually very interesting. I don't know why it's like that, but just a few details were different. So I'm ready to jump into this now after we've seen two of the other ones, I believe, 2 or 3 of the other ones. I think we saw 2. Now I'm gonna jump into this one to see if there's anything that's different that I would observe from the last episode that I saw on the Peacock one. So without further ado, let's jump to this conversation with the killer, the John Wayne Gacy tapes, and find out exactly what this show has got to give. 1976.
Mike was my half-brother, my dad's youngest child. Mike used to go over and play baseball in the neighborhood. 17 years and disappeared. He would tell my mom about how he was gonna burn in hell because he hadn't been a better dad for Mike. Did not believe that Mike would just disappear without telling anybody. Dad would take me with him to the police station so that they would be won over by me, that they would have sympathy for him. A lot of police officers were telling parents, you know, they're runaways, your kid will be back any day now.
What are they good for?
My dad, I could tell that he was getting scared. My dad and my mom were still holding out hope he would come home. I learned that Michael might have gone to work for John Wayne Gacy.
Day 10.
Gacy talked me through that entire night in my office. He talked about every victim individually. In the shower, I felt like the victim at the Bates Motel. Felt like all the sins of the world on me that I was trying to wash them off myself.
Gacy came out of Sam Amorani's office rather briskly.
Gacy's popping Valium, you'd think he was eating candy corn.
Going through this neighborhood, 70 miles an hour.
I was driving erratically on snowy streets. Well, shit, they didn't know how to keep up with me anyhow.
Traffic citations could have been interpreted as a form of harassment.
As this young kid was walking to pump the gas, Gacy handed him something.
Well, I said, I got people following me. I said, I can't be carrying it. I slipped it into his pocket.
A bag of marijuana. Well, he's got 2 cops tailing him.
He was just kind of panicking now.
I left there. I want to drive out to the cemetery to my dad's grave.
Should we bust him for the marijuana so that we can control this guy?
Possession of marijuana was a crime at the time. And so I remember very clearly, I just said, take him down.
Up alongside of both sides of the car, that they come out with guns drawn, handcuff me, throw me up against the car, throw me in the back seat of the car.
Ron, what's wrong? I thought we were friends. We gotta find out, who is this guy?
In Waterloo, Iowa, when Gacy was convicted of sodomy, sentenced to 10 years in the Anamosa State Penitentiary.
His marriage is gone. He's got to get out of Waterloo.
I had the attitude that society is against me. I feel sorry for myself. Or I could come out of the institution and have the attitude, fuck that stigma.
He was permitted to serve his parole in Illinois.
There was no communication between the police stations, not like there is today.
He started doing whatever he wanted to do.
I really didn't miss Marlon, but I did miss the children. August of '71, I bought the house out at 8213 Summerdale.
Great neighborhood. It was quiet. You could just go out in the street, play ball.
The neighborhood John lived in was lower middle class, blue collar, be like your grandmother's suburban house.
Damn, not my grandma's.
Did John's personal photography, and that's how I got to know Carol.
Tremendous drive from when he was a child.
Ancestral need of having, you've got to do better. You've got to do better than everybody else. I'll show you that I can do it. even though you told me that I can't do it.
Keep going all of the time. This guy never slept.
He was active in the various Polish associations and the Polish Day Parade.
There's a right way, there's a wrong way, and there's my way. You have to have organization, you have to have leadership. And the same thing when Mrs. Carter came.
There are pictures of him standing with Rosalind Carter, the president's wife, with his Secret Service clearance pin on his jacket.
You couldn't make it up, I swear.
Counting and appearing in at least 10, 15 parades as a clown.
The logo was John's own creation. From the style of the makeup to the way he acted, it was all his doing.
Clown for the Democratic Party. And I used to be in a lot of parades. It's almost like the feeling you get out of coming out of church on Christmas Eve. But if I was in a bad mood, it was bad for me to be a clown. You want to grab him by the cheek and instead of just, you want to whack the shit out of him.
There's that laugh.
Sit on women's lap and talk to them and basically do whatever you want. You could feel them up and they wouldn't say anything because you're a clown.
There are things that you could do that you wouldn't do as a person. Clowns can get away with anything. Clowns can get away with murder.
Put them in the back of the car and drove back to the station.
Still trying to find Rob Peace. Maybe he was being held at Gacy's house somehow. But we needed to get back into that house.
When I went in to see Gacy at the Des Plaines police station, they wouldn't let me in at first.
Recovered a photo receipt from a young lady who worked in the Nissan drugstore. Smelled decaying flesh, or decomposing flesh.
Went up to the judge and he did give us permission.
The remark after we signed the warrant was, "Now get that SOB."
A whole bunch of little thin red worms. Worms, fresh dirt. What are these worms eating? Stuck it in the ground and I hit something that felt like you're hitting a brick, a shoulder bone. We got you, you bastard.
When Dan yelled up that he had found bones.
And they go, "Is it peace?" I'll never forget that feeling.
Everything stopped.
And I called my sergeant.
Gacy asked me if we had been in a crawl space. And I said, "Yes, John, we were in a crawl space. I'm never going to spend a day in jail for this."
Finally, he let me in to go see him, and he said, I want to talk to people about what happened. They're not going to talk to anybody else."
His lawyers probably told him to keep his mouth shut. He wouldn't listen.
He wanted to be in charge. It was John Gacy. He wanted to be in control, and he wanted to do it his way.
Office had a pretty good rapport going with John. Talking to him like, John, you look like you got a lot on your mind, like you got something to say.
He started talking.
I think I slept all that day, went down to the Greyhound bus depot.
Why?
A lot of young teenagers did run away from home.
If a teenager either came out to their family or was discovered to be gay, the family might reject them. Don't have homes necessarily to go back to.
Drove around the block and I pulled up by there. That's when a kid come up.
Big city like Chicago. These kids kind of stood out.
I also talked about sex. I asked him if he ever gotten into it with a guy. I stabbed him a couple of times. 4 or 5 times in the chest. I proceeded to dig a hole and bury him right there.
Version, he was totally clueless, without blame. It wasn't his fault.
The first murder, probably got a little nervous.
Next day after that, I was, with Carol, and nothing ever happened anymore. We kept secret.
Nicely kept secret.
Don't want to do it.
But you found men.
Meanwhile, he would come home late at night with other men.
The garage was kind of set up like a separate apartment.
Carol was well aware that he was engaged in homosexual activity with males.
I just felt he was going more for the men, not for the women, because he could not function with a woman.
I got a nail, went through my bottom of my shoe and into my foot. Parents had gone on vacation. There was a knock on my projects for John. Had a bond because we both had similar hot rod type car. You got a Mopar, you ain't got no car, needless to say.
I treated him on a father-son relationship. Also got into a sexual relationship.
An old person was missing for that matter. The police wouldn't do anything about it.
John Bukovich went missing. I asked John about it. No, little John is quit. Thought was unusual was that John Bukovich just left his car.
It was 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. We drove all the way out to my house, smoked a couple of joints. Then he started getting belligerent.
Arguing with Gacy over pay that he believed was owed to him.
So the handcuffs were right there at the bar. I slapped the handcuffs on him. One arm, then I grabbed his other arm. I got the handcuffs on. I said, "Now, John," I said, "you're not going to fight with nobody."
And strangled John Butkovich to death.
Walked in there, and the first thing I come upon was his feet. He still had the rope on his neck. Out to the garage, I I dug the hole as big as I could. I pushed him in it, and then I cemented it over.
Learning how much he enjoyed it and how he could get away with it.
I got away with the first one. I just kept getting away with him. That's why I didn't stop. I asked for a divorce in 75. She got the divorce in February of 76 and moved out.
Thank God.
I was not go out drinking, and I know I was cruising down at the park.
It started down in Bughouse Square, the Greyhound Station.
Remember, there weren't a lot of alternatives, especially for people who really had to be closeted.
That's where Gacy patrolled.
I felt that I would probably have the upper hand or the fatherly image over them. In other words, the innocent ones.
He talked about he was able to get these kids to his car.
Going to do things that to an outsider might look like crazy. You didn't really have a choice.
When you're busier than hell, you want to satisfy yourself more. Could it be that you're seeking out different people for sex, that I developed a hatred for them? You brought their body to do what you want with it. To me, they're not a human being.
When we were getting statements from Gacy, we didn't have time to react a lot.
6 o'clock in the morning. It was hours of him rambling.
Now I figure if he was helpful to them, then he'd probably get away with this thing.
Police officers were at the house.
Whatever was there, we had to find it. Started pulling up the floor.
This was 1978. Nobody knew about PPE. I wore jeans and I had a couple of rugby shirts that I wore because they were they were warm.
I didn't know what the totality of this thing was going to be.
Towards the open floor in the office area. All right, now we're looking west towards that bedroom. Quick pan across the top of the kitchen, then we'll pan down.
Like that for a few seconds.
It seems funny right now. I've had a couple of visions. I picture the goddamn bank of the river where the road ends. It's like going up a ramp of a bridge. And then there's water. There's something in the river. You just leave peace where he's at. Assume that he's at the other water.
What? Well. This episode was fucking insane. I can't stand this mother. Honestly, if this wasn't on YouTube, I would be able to give you guys the real feeling of how I feel. This guy is so arrogant, so cocky, so somebody asked the question which I did not answer because I do not rate for me. I do not go for me. When somebody asks me which serial killer do you think is worse? For me, I don't think any is worse. I think they're all dreadful. They're all horrible, and I'll never rate one murderer from another murderer. That's just, for me, I don't see logic in that. For me. But I do understand why people are like, well, this person killed a lot more people and how he did it is worse, so he has to be the worst. You still killed innocent people. This guy killed, 33 people? I believe that was the total. And hearing how he is, now, if you want to compare him to Dahmer, which we already went through, Dahmer was much different than this guy. Dahmer seemed more insecure, but also at the ending was also very truthful and said what he did because he was hoping that he would get into heaven. That's what I got from that series. This guy was arrogant, playing just, he was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, like all the way, through and through, and he was, going after people. They actually, both of them, went after people who were in bad positions. Either, this guy was going after people who were young, gay, rejected, and also Dahmer went after people who were gay and people of color, so the police weren't really looking into them either. But as you see here, this is all white people that he killed, and the police still were very unbothered. So the police at that time were obviously worse than what they were now. They just did not care. So what were they policing back then? If any of you guys were around in the 70s, 80s, can you let me know what the police did? Because I'm kind of confused. But regardless, this episode for me solidified that I like this Netflix version better than the Peacock version. The Peacock version I still find very interesting to go through because I love psychology. I love hearing about this stuff. But also, there's such gaping holes in these stories or pieces that are not said. The Netflix version in this episode, they said, talking about how they arrested him, how they got them. Everything was the same as the Peacock version. I don't know the title of the Peacock version, that's why I keep calling it the Peacock. But in the Peacock version, one of the workers went to police, was driving the car, and whatever, and went to the police after John Gacy went inside somewhere and told the police that he just admitted killing all these people, and then they arrested him. And here, they arrested him after the marijuana situation, and there was no mention of that guy who was one of the workers that was there. They did not mention him being with him. They did not mention anything. And also, it's just different version. It's just very interesting. It's different. It's very different. And I would like to know why it's different, since it deals with the same story and the same person. If somebody could comment down below and enlighten me on this fun fact that I'm missing, that would be cute. Regardless, I enjoyed this. Enjoyed what you could say. It was very interesting to hear this. I really do like this better than the Peacock version, but we're going to jump back into the Peacock version and probably catch up two more episodes or so, and then we'll jump back here to finish the last episode, and then we'll finish off Peacock. Yes, finish off the Peacock. With that being said, guys, if you see this reaction, realize you are not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, so please like and share this content because it is wonders for this channel. And I'll see you all next time on Breeze of Prey.